Welcome to the Atomic Impact Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Osborn. And on this podcast, we interview successful business owners for them to share atomic, impactful lessons that they've learned throughout the course of their business and share them with us so that we can learn as well. As always, this show is sponsored by the LinkedIn Reverse Podcast Method, the new way to close deals that doesn't rely on any of the old traditional methods that everybody hates. We use this method to book 26 qualified leads and sales calls in 10 days without any ad spend, outreach, or endless social media posting. To find out more, send me a direct message on LinkedIn to have a chat. That's Jason A. Osborne, and the link to that will be in the show notes below. But on today's show, our special guest is Maeve Ferguson. She's the owner of Maeve Ferguson Consulting, where she's helping transform established thought leaders intellectual property into diagnostic assessment systems through the proprietary client engine methodology. So, Maeve, thank you so much for being on the show. It's great to have you here. I want to start off with a question that I always love asking, and that is this. If you were able to go back and start over in your business, but knowing what you know now, what would you do differently in the first 12 months?
Ooh, I would do rich niche positioning. And what I mean by that is that the caliber of the people that we work with and the level of sophistication that they have and their ability to invest in themselves is 100% determined by the messaging and positioning that we put top of funnel to bring them into our world. And I find it very interesting now because I'm working with some of the biggest thought leaders in the world, the number one New York Times best-selling authors, that type of person. But in the early days, it wasn't necessarily like that. And all it actually was, I'm still doing exactly the same thing that I've been doing for the last 7 years, but the who that I am serving has changed dramatically, as has my business, as has the pleasure in working in my business, running my business, etc., because of that rich niche positioning.
Yeah, I love that. That's really, really interesting. Um, okay, this is the $1 million question, so to speak, right? Because I totally agree with you on this. As a matter of fact, there's some stuff we're doing in our business exactly for that. We're kind of moving out of
Yeah.
some of the general coaches, consultant stuff, and more into that higher type of yeah, the higher leverage type of clients and stuff. But here's the key thing, and whenever I'm working with my own clients, they there's this resistance saying, yeah, but what about all these other people? Or, how do I begin to niche down? There's a fear of really niching down sometimes because think, well, does that mean I'm shrinking my market size? What's the thing that you learned? What's a lesson you learned in that process? Because I don't know if you maybe went through some of that same thought process, like, oh my God, what do I do? What did you learn in that process to help other people that might be going through that same thing?
Yeah, so I absolutely love it, and it's actually just, in my opinion, a positioning play. And what I mean by that is that we, inside of our agency, we have a completely done for you agency. We build diagnostic assessments like for thought leaders like the Enneagrams, the Myers-Briggs of the world. We build quiz funnels, we build score-based diagnostics. But also in the back end of that, we help all of our clients with their, course portals and membership sites and setting up and building and running their live events and setting up their masterminds and all of that type of thing. But what happens when you're trying to speak to the market about look at all of these amazing things that we could support you with, you're known for absolutely nothing. And so what I actually did a few years ago, I used to have, the 10K group coaching program, the 9 digital courses, all of the things, and ran a really successful six-figure business. Doing that, I enjoyed it, but it was here's all the things we can help you with whenever you come to work with us. Then a few years back, we chose the needle mover that, in my experience from working with, some of the biggest people right through across a range of different verticals. I discovered that the segmentation funnel, what's better known as a quiz funnel, right through to diagnostic assessments, is the linchpin in the success or failure of a business, in my opinion. So I actually then just pulled one piece of our methodology, one piece of our process out. We position that top of funnel. People are coming to us because it's so specific. There's nobody else in the market that is doing what we are doing in this specific way, it doesn't mean that we're not delivering all of those other things in the back end. But it's not like, here's a shopping trolley full of stuff, come and buy it all. Instead of that, it's like, here's a fillet steak. And then once they're in, then we're able to, work with people for years and years to come.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. What's been the hardest part of scaling in what you do, where you're not becoming spammy or salesy? Because this is one of the things I find a lot of people have challenges with. It's like they grow and they fall in the trap of just trying to market everything, being really spammy. And what's been the hardest part or the lessons you've learned to maintain the growth without falling into that trap that a lot of people do?
Yeah, I think it's flipping the switch to attraction-based marketing, flicking the switch to vision-based marketing rather than, the bro marketers that are like rubbing the pain and like let's like stand on you when you're down type thing, selling from a place of fear. So what we have actually done is gone the complete reverse of that. We have wait lists, we're booked like right out through Q2. We have a queue of people, to coin Daniel Priestley, a queue of people out the door wanting
Mhm.
to work with us because there's no like fake bro marketing tactics. There's no like, sign up, before midnight tonight or this vanishes forever, even though it's a digital course. Like, people are
Yeah,
sophisticated, people aren't stupid.
yeah,
And again, the level of the people that we're working with now as well, they value the depth of work that we do with them. It is not required in the world that we are in to pull any of those spammy tactics.
yeah,
It's almost the opposite problem. It's less like, we have to like work through people who are coming in where we do very, very kind of sophisticated qualification. So the only people that actually get to speak to my sales team are people who are hyper qualified. We already know they're ready to go. And it makes our sales conversion numbers look amazing. But the reason for
yeah,
that is because we have the infrastructure up front,
yeah,
let
yeah.
everybody out and weed out and separate the wheat from the chaff.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Which leads on to a question I always like to ask, and you've kind of answered it, but I'd love to go ahead and ask it because you might come up with it. You might
Yeah.
just invoke a little bit of a different answer. What's the one thing you changed in building relationships that's made that whole sales process feel easier for you? And I know you've talked about kind of the weeding, but is there anything specific around the relationship side?
Depends on how woo you are. So I was, just for context, the most anti-woo, like what a load of nonsense. I'm quite a masculine person. I worked in corporate, worked in private equity for years. Like what a load of nonsense is what I thought about all of that. And
Yeah.
it is actually so attached to your identity, who we are being, how we are showing up, the identity that we have to meet these people like kind of square on and like meet them as a peer, meet them as an equal, as opposed to,
Mm,
having them up on a pedestal type thing. So what I have found, like we actually do quite a lot of joint venture relationships with some pretty like big names, where they are actually sending us clients all the time. And it's that energy of meeting them where they're at, building those
mm,
relationships, and then because the people at this caliber are, sending people our way, there's almost like an automatic kind of verification stamp because now we have
yeah.
earned it. We've earned it for years and years and years doing all the right things. But that relationship building, both with JV partners, both with your prospects, it's like mutual respect. But we also have to have the right identity to show up as the person who deserves to get the multi six-figure contract.
Yeah. 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 I love that. Um, So one of the things that you've said that I think people would love the idea of it, but they're just like, where do I even get started with this? Is the whole idea of JV partnerships,
Hmm.
and where do we even find them? Where do we even begin with that sort of stuff? And then they hear, oh, you've been doing this for years. Oh my God. So what's one just practical step for anyone going, okay, I love the idea of the leverage of JV partnerships, but where do I start?
Yeah.
Because why would they refer people to me?
Yeah. The where to start is, who do I need to know? Okay, so one of the things that I think has served me very, very well since I started my business, and as I said, like I came out of corporate, like I didn't even know what a funnel was. I had literally
Yeah.
never heard of a thing called a funnel, and now like this is what
Yeah.
we this is what we do inside of our company, which is kind of funny. But I came out and I'm a very put your entrepreneur cap on not your consumer cap. Okay, so I have spent like $400,000 investing in myself and coaches and programs and mentoring, masterminds, all of the things. I've
Mm,
really, really invested in myself. But what I have done as I've gone through those is I haven't gone through anything just as a consumer. Okay, so of course I go through it as a consumer to learn what I need to learn, to implement what I need to implement, but I'm actually going through everything with my entrepreneurial cap on. So my mentor is Ryan Levesque. He has been for years and years. And I remember very early on when I kind of first observed him in this world, it's like, what are they doing? Why are they doing it? What's the rationale for that? What's the move here? What's the
mm,
play? So it's observing what those who are in the place that you want to get to, observing
mm.
what they're doing, and then building a relationship. So I was, his biggest cheerleader. I was for a long time. I was his, the showcase of their best client results. I showed up. I said yes. I did the interview and the podcast, and every time there was a webinar where they wanted somebody to speak to how great their program was. I did it, and obviously it was true and it was amazing and all of those things. But I
Yeah.
showed up and earned A, that attention, B, that respect. But then more importantly, I then delivered at the level that would be required for somebody like that or somebody else at that sort of level to actually put their name in the line to send their precious people your way.
Yeah.
So I've been very observant of those who are way ahead of me and still am to this day. So like, what are they doing? What's the move? Why are they doing this? Really kind of observing that rather than just being in the weeds and in the mess all the time.
Yeah, yeah. What I'm hearing in between the lines here is the difference between someone who's just trying to get quick wins and someone who's wanting to actually build a proper long-term business. And that's
Exactly.
a different mindset altogether.
Exactly. And
Which
it's like I say this all the time in my content. It's like, if you're here to build a hobby business, and this is one of my struggles in the early years of my business, they weren't entrepreneurs. They should never have been entrepreneurs. They'd fallen for the bro marketer who had told them that all they had to do was whack up a funnel and they'd be a millionaire by Friday. But they never should have actually been in this game. And they were running their businesses as though it was some sort of kind of pastime or a hobby.
mm,
And, I'm building a company. I am building a company with many, many divisions. I have team, I have, all of those things. So it's building it through a very, very different lens and not treating it like a hobby because businesses are not hobbies.
no, no, no. I love that. I love your approach. I think if people can really grab a hold of what you're saying, it will transform their business as well. Even if people are doing really, really well, sometimes you just need that little kick to go, yeah, I need to just change my perspective on this, which is amazing. Well, over the next 2 to 3 years of your business, what are you looking to achieve?
Ooh, in the next 2 to 3 years, so we have some grand plans that are already in play, already rolling out. So our business for the last number of years has been a done for you services business. That's kind of gotten to the stage where it's humming along really nicely. I have an agency director running it. All of the sales are handled. Client onboarding is handled. Client delivery is handled to the tune of, I'd say, about 85, 90%. So I'm not out
Mm,
of it by any stretch of the imagination, but I am getting there in relation to that. We also do a lot of agentic AI for our clients. And that's actually growing quite quickly. So we have more and more clients. It's obviously the shiny show pony of the moment. But we have a lot of our existing client base have, then jumped in to get agentic AI solutions built inside of their business. We're starting now to bring in external clients into that as well. So that's kind of, again, I have a guy in place from New York that's running that and the team below him to support that. And then there's a big piece that I'm working on now, which is the data play. And in this world of AI and where everything is headed, I firmly believe, and I'm an absolute data geek, but I firmly believe that data is going to be the moat that allows companies to either survive, thrive, and those who don't have data are going to just be gobbled up and they're just going to be executors. But now AI agents are going to execute better than any person.
mm.
So the whole piece about this data moat is something that I am very, very, very involved in. I've kind of gone down that rabbit hole in a big way. And then we also have a certification wing of the business and licensing. So, do you know, for like diagnostic assessments, where it's the discs and the strength finders of the world, rolling those out for some of our, our much, much, much bigger clients.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, that's really exciting. That's very, very cool. That's very
Yeah.
cool. Well, for people that are wanting to get in touch with you and learn a little bit more about what you're doing, what's the best place for them to do that, Maeve?
Yeah, so LinkedIn is my main platform. I am also have a fledgling little Substack. We are 24 episodes, 24 editions into that. So if you're over on LinkedIn, ping me a message with the word Substack, and then we do like a handwritten newsletter every week. Yeah, I'm really loving that platform. Really loving that kind of mode of sharing our thought leadership, sharing our message with the world. But yeah, so LinkedIn is the main place.
Amazing, amazing. Well, I definitely recommend everyone checking out Maeve and what she's doing. As you can hear from what she said, it is game changing for businesses. So, Maeve, thanks so much for being on the show. Really appreciate you sharing your words of wisdom and thoughts and insights from your experiences in your business. So, thank you very much. And as a reminder to everyone listening, this show is sponsored by the LinkedIn Reverse Podcast Method, the new way to close deals that doesn't rely on any of the old traditional methods that everybody hates. To find out more, direct message me on LinkedIn to have a chat. That's Jason A. Osborn. The link to that will be in the show notes below. And until next episode, stay inspired.